Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Wednesday. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone, and tell a friend. Today is our first episode of season 4 of the Big Red Zone. We're going to do a little recap over our summer away. We got Danny Football, Jared Haibon here, and we're excited to get right to it. This is the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I'm joined by Danny Football.
Good to be back, Big Red.
Missed you, buddy. And always a pleasure to have him back on the pod. Jared Haibon is here.
Fellas. The pleasure is all mine, as always. I see you're wearing, is that it's got to be a Nikovic or no, it's Vrabel.
It's Vrabel.
Okay,
Vrabel.
I saw the Reebok. I was like, it's definitely old.
It's an oldie. It's a favorite.
Definitely not Winovich.
It's an oldie, but a goodie.
That is a goodie.
It is a good. I love him. One of my favorite players from back in the day.
So do you root for the Titans now?
You know what? When he first got the job, I was rooting for them during that, except when they played us in the playoffs. I was rooting for him that season. I remember watching. This is actually one of Danny Football's favorite episodes. This was when he would listen to the pod.
Oh, when you called the Wildcat, yeah.
Yeah, we saw the Wildcat play, and it was like one of the funnest, if that's a word, games I've seen. It was just a crazy end of the game, and it was awesome. But I love Vrabel. I think he's awesome. Future coach of the NFL, top coach of the NFL.
I think he's already there.
Yeah, I think in the next, in 10 years, I think he's going to be when the Bills are gone and the Pete Carrolls are gone. And
I think he's going to have like Tomlin's staying power. I think he's just a culture guy.
Right. Same thing with Flores. It's going to be when we're talking about right now,
Belichick tree, baby.
It is. All is. Fellas, how's your summer been? It's been a while. It's been over a month since we've been on the pod. Anything new? What I know, Jared's a future dad.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. Little Tom Edwards, Patrick Brady Haibon is on the way. It's going to be a wild ride. We're excited, man. Yeah, we're having a baby boy. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I hope that I want him to be an NFL kicker. That's my goal right there.
That's the best position.
Pat McAfee could do it.
Dude, Pat McAfee, plus one of my favorite Patriots of all time is Vinatieri, because he's a badass. You know what I mean? And say a kicker is a badass is what I want my son to be.
Stone cold, ice in his veins. That's all it is. The most clutch players on the team are quarterbacks and kickers.
Can play for 20 years. He'll be able to take care of Jared when he's older. He'll be good to go.
Oh, yeah. Once I'm in the retirement home, that kid's going to be paying my bills. Dude, the amount of times I've watched the snowball kick. What was it? 40? God. Was it 48, 47, 48, 46?
I think it was 48 yards. I think it was a 48.
Oh, my. Dude, I still goosebumps up and down every time I watch that kick.
Clearing the spot
you
with
can't
their
even
hands.
see the ball. Oh, God, I love
we
it.
had, Jared, I don't know if you know this, we had 3-time Super Bowl champion Lonnie Paxton on the show, the long snapper who actually was the snapper in that exact play you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he the one that did the Angel once they won the game?
He might have. I think it was something like that. Yeah, I think I'm not sure on that, but I think it was. But he talked about that. It was he said it how he talked about that moment. It was so cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm 6'8", so I hope when I have a kid, I hope he's 7 feet tall, and then I'm set for life. I'm just gonna put a basketball.
My kid's gonna be a midget, dude. I'm in trouble.
But he's gonna fight.
Yeah, he'll be a little fighter. I'll get him into the boxing early, and he'll be good to go too.
You want your kid, if you had a choice between UFC or boxing?
Boxing, dude. I don't want my kid getting kicked in the head, kneed in the face, just punching with headgear on. He'll be all set.
So, yeah, I mean, you were a little hyped up about the Jake Paul fight. Yeah, what did you think of the boxing match last night? If you want to call it that.
I thought it was a good, spectacle along the lines of pro wrestling. I mean, Jack, I had Jack do a quick recap. I didn't watch it myself. I was watching the highlights because I'm not paying for that shit. But he said it was a lot of hugging. Woodley did blast Paul at one point, got him on the ropes, but he didn't finish him. And then Jake Paul takes a split decision, but that's how boxing goes. He's gonna get his win. Can't hurt the allure of Jake Paul, but they're gonna run it back anyway. They're gonna get paid for a second fight. They're both gonna make millions. They're gonna be fine. And
the great boxer Jake Paul retired today, though. I don't know. He announced his retirement.
I mean, Conor McGregor's announced his retirement 10 fucking times, and he always comes back, so he'll be good to go.
I had a fantasy football draft with Zach last night, and we talked about it a little bit. He was so pissed off before the game even started. And then
the boxing match?
The boxing match, yeah. We were like, oh, I think we asked if anyone wanted to do. I think Jack asked if anyone wanted to go in on it.
So, Zach, are you a big boxing guy? Like, have you been a fan of the sport for a while?
I'm a boxing guy. I've been a UFC guy for a little bit longer than boxing, but I'm like a big history guy, so I could tell you a shit ton about like the early days of boxing. I keep up with what's going on now, but it's only like certain guys. I don't follow like the whole, like every single fucking division and every single belt.
Well, here's my question. Is Jake Paul a good boxer?
Yes.
All right.
He's a good boxer, technically sound, but I don't appreciate the kinds of opponents and the spectacle of fights that he's putting on. If he walked in there and he was fighting like Tank Davis, or he's actually going against like De La Cruz and guys like that, and he was holding his own, then I'd give him a mad props for that, because those are legit boxers. But he's going in there with Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, and guys who aren't boxers. So it's hard to give him props. He looks good. It's just the caliber of opponents that he's putting himself in there with.
That's what I've been hearing over and over. It's that, like, listen,
he looks good. I watched the Askren fight. Again, didn't pay for it because I refused to do that. But I watched the Askren fight, and he did look good. He looks technically sound. I know he trains out in the Wild Card gym out in Las Vegas with Freddie Roach. But he looks good. It's just he goes in there with bums and he fights bums. If he fought actual legit boxers, even if they're young up and coming kids that are like 1-0, 2-0, I mean I would have a lot more respect for him if he did that.
He's like Rocky after his second fight with Apollo before he has to face Mr. T. You know what I mean? He's just facing chumps, and everybody knows it. And so Jake, I agree. Every criticism I've heard of Paul is that, like, listen, he looks like the part, but he's boxing bums, or not bums, but guys that can't box. So like once he goes into a ring with somebody who knows how to box, then we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
And I think it's time. Like, he's like, it is a spectacle and it's fun, but at some point, like, even for me, I'm not a big boxing guy, but I've been interested in the whole Paul storyline. And now, even after last night, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of over it. Like, I'd like to see him go against a boxer. Like, this calling out of MMA fighters, I'm done.
And my thing, and the honest truth is, I think he could, if he really tried and he found someone on the same level, I think he could hang. If he found a young up and coming prospect, or maybe an older veteran like a Luke, I don't know, I don't want to say Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell would probably kill him, but like an older veteran, I think he could hold his own. I don't know if he would be able to knock him out or win a decision, but I think he could at least, show what he has. But the thing is, he just wants to keep up the allure of being undefeated, being the man. And I think you don't want to get knocked out, because once he gets knocked out or he loses, it's over. So
yeah,
he loses the spectacle. I think he's got to find like like you said, a lower level boxer. I don't know about maybe a young guy, and like you said, maybe a veteran, but he has to do that before he retires. Because if he goes out and,
I mean, he can do whatever he wants at this point, but if he wants to keep being Mr. Boxing or keep saying he's a boxer, I'm not saying he needs to fight like a Mick Conlon, who is probably upper echelon in that division, but he needs to, just someone that actually has some credentials, maybe an amateur who's making his pro debut.
I got it. We get the pride of Providence, Peter Manfredo, out of retirement. I mean, he's probably like 48 by now, but it doesn't even matter. Fighting Logan Paul. They're both back in the spotlight.
I mean, Mike Tyson's still doing the damn thing, so anyone can.
I know. What is it like? This man, whatever. Because I just remember Manfredo. I don't know if you keep up with it, but from the second season of The Contender, you guys remember that show?
I never watched it.
I didn't watch it, but I remember it being on TV.
Oh, dude, I watched every episode when Manfredo was on that. I was like, a dude from Rhode Island's on TV. I got to watch this.
I thought you were going to be more of a Vinny Paz guy.
Yeah, Vinny
Paz.
One of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, I still haven't seen it.
Bleed
really?
That's a good movie.
It's so stupid.
Bleed for
I'm
This
from-
is such a good movie. Goes to Twin
I know, I
River
gotta check it
Casino.
out.
Goes to Twin River.
Dude,
in his
I'm
off
pretty sure
time.
he's in the Kent Hospital,
I
which is
probably
like 5 minutes from my house.
he that's a really good movie. I definitely recommend seeing that movie.
Yeah,
You would love it too because you're from Rhode Island. Like that's like
Oh yeah.
you have to watch it.
It's like The Fighter for Rhode Island. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I need to like have a little night for myself then. Light some candles. Have like the Providence skyline in the background.
That's
A little
right.
shadow boxing in your living room. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, some quahogs.
Don't quote me on this, but I think it's on Netflix. Don't quote me. I think it's still on Netflix.
All right, don't tease me. It's for free, and then I gotta pay $3 on
know.
Amazon for this thing.
I know. That's why I said don't quote me. Off the record, I think it is on Netflix. That's where I at least watched it for the first time. Well, not the first time, but that's where I watched it a couple months ago. Yeah, I think he's got to fight someone legitimate. Not legitimate, but someone that actually does boxing and hasn't been retired from the NBA for 10 years
Well, yeah.
and is under 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Like
That's really the only thing that bothers me. Is it's just a big spectacle. If it was legit, I'd be about it, but it's just a spectacle. But
I mean, we've talked about
I'll give him his props where it's deserved, but I'm not gonna get on the bandwagon just yet.
We've talked about it on the pod. Like he actually, like when looking at him and his brother, I think we give him a little bit more props because he actually does the training and
Jake puts in the work. Yeah,
he puts in the work, but he's just facing bums.
Right.
So it's like, or not bum, but like we said, guys that don't box. So I would like to see him jump in the ring with someone legitimate.
it's like
So
when
you guys
Floyd fought McGregor. It was the same fucking
Right.
thing.
Well, I was about
Right.
to say when Floyd fought Logan, so you definitely think that Floyd was
That was
carrying Logan.
A bunch
He
of
was
that was a bunch of bullshit,
Yeah.
dude.
He just had him on his back for every single round and just carried him to the end. It was just embarrassing. It was terrible to watch.
It was a bad fight to watch.
It's exactly what he did with McGregor. I think if McGregor didn't piss off Floyd by hitting him in the head a couple times, like in the back of the head, and he was doing like those hammer fists to the back of the head, I think Floyd would have been content with letting him go to a decision, but I think he pissed him off, so he actually pieced him up.
So does Floyd just have like, I know we're gonna talk Pats, but like last question, does Floyd just have no ego? Like, how does his ego not be like, okay, I gotta knock this YouTuber out?
I think it's just about money with him, man. It's
Yeah.
like he said after the fight. If when it comes to legalized bank robbing, I'm the best. And that's all it is for Floyd. Is he's just a money guy at this point. He's not about boxing. It's about money.
Hey, good for him, man.
Yeah. I think that's one of, I mean, I got to give the guy props. He just sees the dollar sign. You see where he can make a bunch of money. Like he made so much money before that fight. And he's like, you know what? I can make so much more money off of this other fight that really I can just not train for and just kind of walk in.
Floyd's made a lifetime of money every year for the last 20 years, man. That's all it is, man.
It's nuts. But
All right, let's talk about something happy.
yeah, let's get to something a little more positive. Which
Well,
is
the Patriots happy right now?
I'd say
I mean,
so.
Football's back. I'm happy about that.
I'm happy about football. I'm happy about the Patriots. I'm surprisingly optimistic. We just finished preseason with a nice win over the Giants. If you took the spread, I apologize for that late touchdown. Spread was 2.5, and they didn't cover, so I apologize. But I actually am feeling pretty optimistic. I am. I'll first throw this out there. I'll throw what I think about the Cam decision because that's the biggest debate right now. Is do we start Cam or Mac Jones? I'm on the Cam camp, to be honest with you. I don't want to send Mac Jones out there to start the game. I think he's looked really good, but I really don't want to see him go out there. And even though it's an easy first couple games until you get to week 4 against the GOAT, I really don't want to see him go out there in those first 4 games. I'd rather have him learn and see at least a couple weeks of preparation under a starting quarterback and then get thrown into the fire. I don't know.
All right. Let me ask you this. Who's right now, if you had to pick from what you've seen or heard in training camp, what we've seen in preseason, who's the better quarterback, Cam Newton or Mac Jones? Take experience out of it. Just who's the better quarterback?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, I'd probably go Mac.
It's not even a question, right?
Yeah, I'd go Mac.
Cam hasn't looked terrible, but like Mac
Cam's
Jones
looked good.
Yeah, I mean, even that pick that he threw last night when he was throwing up the seam to Jacoby Myers, like I mean, it was a bad read. He kind of threw into double coverage, but it was a good throw. He had some pop on that thing.
Right.
So, and he threw a nice little comeback to Jacoby Myers early in the game. Like, I think he's actually looked all right. But my point being, I don't mind Mac Jones sitting. Like, sure, you
No,
don't want
I
to play
don't.
for a full
I was
season.
gonna say I'd rather Cam start the season.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I agree with that. But the thing that just sucks is that like we're back here where Cam Newton is once again our starting quarterback. Like, he might not be as bad as last year, but that's not saying much. And like,
but I'm at least happy we have Mac Jones instead of Jarrett Stidham this time.
Oh my God! Well, thank God! Holy shit! Do you remember last year in the offseason? It was like, oh, Stidham, he's more developed than Jimmy Garoppolo.
You don't have to tell me, Jared. I was the first person to tell Steve I'd drive Stidham to the airport myself.
I didn't say he was as developed as Jimmy Garoppolo. I did think he could come in and win some games, but obviously the kid is more interested on Instagram than preparing for an NFL game.
Dude, he went to that wedding in Texas, and then all of a sudden it was like bye-bye. I'm sure it had one had nothing to do with the other, but the timing is hysterical.
There must be some and I've talked about this with a bunch of people. The thing I like about Mac Jones over Jared Stidham, first, take out the talent. Mac's way better than Jared Stidham. But the thing that I think
comparable.
No, but the mentality element of it, Jared Stidham had an opportunity last year to go in and compete for a starting job, and he just took a sidestep and let Cam take it, and Cam was not challenged once. Mac Jones is the type of guy that will look at Cam Newton, who's a veteran in the league, an MVP, former MVP, been to the Super Bowl, and say, I like you, Cam. I'm going to learn as much as I can from you, and I'll respect you, but I'm taking your job.
Oh, I totally agree.
That's how it was at Alabama. He sat behind Hurts. He learned at Hurts, and then Tua took the job, and he learned from Tua.
Right.
Dude, I totally agree. Like, one of my favorite parts of Mac thus far that I've been surprised and happiest about is his attitude, because he's got a little fire in him. You know,
he's got a chip.
Like, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and like even you see him like talking to his receivers. And there was a play like the other day with Gunnar Olszewski, where he was like yelling at him. He's like, "Hey, I want you to do this," and it was just like a moment where you're like, "That's a leader." You know, and that's what the quarterback has to be. He has to be the on-field general. And so to see Mac already display that in his first year with the Patriots, especially going into a season with Cam Newton, who he's not the same guy, but he's still freaking Cam Newton. Like, he's got pedigree in the NFL.
Right.
So I love that Mac came in, and he's just playing well. He's making great throws, great reads. Like, even, I'm sure you guys can say the same thing. When Cam is in there versus when Mac is in there, it just looks so much better with Mac there. Like, the offense, there's more fluidity. It's just smoother. Like, it moves faster. As much as Cam has looked better, when he's in there, dude, everything slows down. Like, he's in the huddle on one knee. They break. He kind of walks up to the line. He takes longer in the pocket. It's just like his throwing motion is slower. Everything just slows down. When Mac's in there, it seems like they're always in this no huddle. You know, right to the line. He's calling plays. He's calling the mic. It's like, boom, 2 steps out, 3 steps out. And it's like, oh, damn, I've missed this.
And the thing, two things about it, like the leadership I've seen. The other thing last night, I don't know if you saw, he gets fire. He knows when to get fiery. He also knows how to pick his teammates up. I don't know if you saw, it was some probably 7th string wide receiver or tight end. I don't even know who it was. He dropped a wide open bunny for a first down. And
I think that was Gunner.
I don't think it wasn't Gunner.
Oh, okay. Because Gunner had a bad drop yesterday.
There was someone else, and he was walking back to the huddle with his head up, and he tapped him on the helmet and said, "Let's go." Like, there's I think, and Tom has this. Tom,
I was gonna say, dude, he has a little Tom in him.
That's when we're talking about player.
I hate saying it.
No, that's the thing. Like, am I saying that he's gonna be the best quarterback ever to live? Mac Jones is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. He's going to win 6 Super Bowls. He's going to do this and that. No. But when I'm looking at a player comparison, looking at him in the pocket, his decision-making, knowing when to get the ball out, he has a good sense of the pocket, leader.
Even the offensive nuance, dude. I wouldn't be shocked if they're running Brady-type plays with him.
He reminds me so much of Tom Brady. And that's why
there is a similarity.
It's a good player.
The expectations on this kid is getting already pretty high. So I get it why you want to sit him, slow everything down, relax everybody. Having said that, when you look at the NFL historically, yes, there are quarterbacks who sit for the first year and learn. Mahomes sat for his first year. Rodgers obviously famously sat for 3 years.
Right.
You know, even Jimmy G. I'm not saying Jimmy G is a great quarterback, but he's a starting NFL caliber quarterback, and he sat for how many years? But then a lot of rookies start. Like, look at Russell Wilson. I mean, remember they signed Matt Flynn. Russell Wilson comes in and starts. And they have a really good season. Obviously, Russell Wilson is who he's now. Roethlisberger started his rookie year. Phillip Rivers started his rookie year. Peyton Manning started his rookie year. You know, Justin Herbert. I mean, granted, it's because Tyrod Taylor got like a needle in the heart.
Got stabbed by his own team doctor.
Yeah. Dude, it's like there are a lot of rookie quarterbacks that start and end up having great careers. So, Mike, I'm not saying I'm for one way or the other because I definitely see why we would want to sit him and just, hey, let's get him into the system. Let's groom him. Let's have him become the quarterback for the next 10 years and not just for 2021.
Yeah.
But there are many examples of rookies starting who end up becoming not only very good quarterbacks, but great quarterbacks.
I mean, if he starts, I'll be so fired up for that Brady Mac Jones. That will be a great selling game. It's already a great seller right now, but throwing Mac Jones in there will be a great seller. I'm just nervous at how he'll react to that, which from everything I've seen, he has the right head like to do that. And he's the type of guy that's going to say, I'm nice to meet you, Tom, but I'm going to beat you tonight. It's like, he has that mentality. Like, I really do. I get that vibe from him that he doesn't care who he's talking to. He's going to try to, he believes he's the best out there, and he's going to.
While we're on the topic of Mac Jones getting fired up, he signed an endorsement deal with No Bull today, and they put out a hype video. So if you want to get the juices flowing, look up that No Bull Mac Jones video.
I'm going to have to check that out.
See, that's what I mean. I'm a little nervous.
I'm nervous, dude.
We're getting hyped. He's already getting endorsement deals. There's hype videos. It's like, oh God, maybe we should just stash this kid for 2 years and have people forget about
Jared
it.
Stidham had none of this. He stayed quiet, and now he's out of a job.
Fair point.
So.
Fair point.
Jared Stidham was also a fifth or sixth round draft pick. This is your first. I mean, this is the first quarterback Bill's ever taken
since Drew Bledsoe.
So a little different, but I'm excited, man.
Well, I got some questions for you boys because
it's
been a pretty interesting offseason. So I figured, all right, Sony Michel, was he a good pick?
I'm going to say yes, because he pretty much got us to that championship.
So here's my problem with Sony Michel. I think he gets so much more crap than he deserves. I think he's a really good running back. If you look at the first year he played for the Patriots, what did he do? He set the all-time rookie touchdown record for rookie running backs. The year after, what happened? He lost 4 blockers on his offensive line.
Yeah.
And he was ineffective. And then he got injured, and then it was just like a downward spiral. Last year, he actually, if you look at it, wasn't terrible last year. He was actually pretty good. The one knock in him I've always had, and this isn't his fault, is that we could have had Lamar Jackson. I was so high on Lamar Jackson going into that draft. And when we passed on him for a left tackle, I was like, all right, I get it. And then when he was available for us in that second first round pick, I was like, let's go. And then we passed on him, and, the rest is history with Lamar. Now that we have Mac, I'm a little less angry about that because it worked out. I think hopefully it worked out. Knock on wood, it worked out. But I think Sony gets a lot more flack than he should. I think he was a good pick. I think he's a good running back, and he's going to do a lot of good things in LA. But man, we could have had a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Didn't Nick Chubb go after him too?
Yeah, Chubb was after
we could have done Nick Chubb. I mean,
so here's my thing with Sony. He's not a bust. He's definitely not a bust.
He's not a bust.
I don't think he was a good pick. I just hate using a first round draft pick on a running back. I've always hated it. And it's such a good example in the Patriots backfield right now where you got Stevenson. What was he, a 4th round pick? Maybe even a 5th. You got Damian Harris, who looks great, 3rd round draft pick. And Sony Michel, like, I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. I thought he was fine. But to use a first round draft pick on a guy that I think is like, yeah, whatever. Oh, I hated it. I hated it then. I hate it now.
I'd have to go back more and look at that draft class and see. But like, if you were to ask me, am I more angry about that and N'Keal Harry? I think N'Keal Harry was 10 times worse of a draft pick, first round pick.
Inexcusable pick.
Pretty bad. Well, let me ask you guys this: does N'Keal Harry make this team?
I wouldn't be shocked if he did.
I think he does, but I wouldn't be shocked if he got cut. I think he does make the team. And he's hurt right now, so they can get away with it and put him on an IR spot and get away with it. And
that's what I mean. Like, just to have a guy who got drafted in the first round 2 years ago be like, yeah, 50-50 whether he makes the team. It's like, oh my God.
That was a terrible. That was maybe the
Definitely
worst draft selection. That was probably Bill's worst draft pick. I like, especially when you have guys like DK in the draft, well, you just miss out on him. That was,
Aaron Dobson, Kendrell Tompkins. The list goes on with that bullshit.
Yeah.
I will say Malcolm Mitchell would have been a good pick if he didn't get hurt.
I know. Poor Malcolm Mitchell, man.
He was really good that rookie year.
He was.
Dude, that Super Bowl.
That Super Bowl rookie year, he was huge.
All right. So the defense is supposed to be the obviously the highlight of the team. So my question is, I'm going to list off, do you think this is a top 5 defense? I'm going to list off what NFL.com has as what they think the top 5 defenses will be in 2021. I want you to tell me whether you think the Patriots should be top 5. So number 1, they got the Los Angeles Rams. Number 2, they got the Bucks. Number 3, they got the Colts. Number 4, they got the Ravens. Number 5, the Browns. Is the Pats defense better than one of those 5 teams?
I think I'm surprised. Who was the 4th one?
4th was the Ravens.
I mean, the Colts were sneaky good last year. I don't get the hype over the Rams defense. Like, I know they're going to be good, but they're saying this is the best defense of the draft. I don't see it. I'm kind of surprised on that one, but I think they could. It's close. I think they could be. They'll be right there in the 5th, 4th spot.
To give you some context, the Washington football team is 6, and then they have New England at 7 here.
Who is 2?
2 was stand by Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay. What a total 180.
I think I'd rather have the Pats defense than the Browns defense.
I think so too. They have a couple young corners that are good, and then obviously Myles Garrett. But I'll be honest, I'd rather have the Pats.
They were getting torched by backup Steeler quarterbacks. I don't even know.
I'd rather have the Pats defense than the Browns. And
I love Matthew Judon. I love Hightower coming back. I love Van Noy coming back. I am extremely concerned about Stephon Gilmore. I'm concerned about that defensive backfield. I love Devin McCourty, obviously. He's not getting any younger. I'm interested to see what he looks like. I like Kyle Duggar.
He looks good.
I think he looks good. And then you got J.C. Jackson as your number 1 if Stephon Gilmore doesn't play, which means I think it's Jonathan Jones.
Jonathan Jones, I think, is number 2 then. Who I think is pretty. I think he's pretty good. Here's the thing. I don't think Bill is going to go into the season, and I could be wrong, go into the season with this question. I could be wrong with this because Bill's on a different wavelength than everyone. But I can't see him going into the season without some agreement between him and Gilmore. I can't see it. Either he's going to just trade him and get whatever he can for him and just say, even if he loses out on it, he loses out on it, or he gets or he plays, and either he gives them I know sometimes guys do that thing where, all right, we'll give you a little bit more money to play this year, and then that's it. We're not re-signing you next year.
Well, that's what they did last year. Remember, they gave him a pay bump. But
it wasn't a pay bump. That's the thing that I think, because everyone's saying, why didn't they give him a pay bump this year? They just moved. That was the bonus he was supposed to get this year. They just said, all right, we'll give it to you this year instead of next year. So that's the thing. I get it. I'm all for players getting for what you are owed. But at the same time, Bill gave you this huge contract. He took a chance a few years ago when you were ranked really pretty good, but you weren't this good. He took a chance on you, gave you a lot of money for that time. You signed a contract, stick with the contract that you made, then go make your money. And then I think Bill, I'm surprised he kind of did this. He was like, you know what? You won Defensive Player of the Year. We're going to give you your bonus this year. Don't act surprised when you're not getting more money this year. That's I think that's crazy. I'm all for getting what you're owed, And I think he should say like, oh, I want a huge extension next year. Like I want a big time pay next year, but then get it. You're going to get it next. He's going to get paid next year if he leaves.
Oh, 1,000%.
So I don't understand why he would sit. Like, I don't think either of them are in the position where Bill doesn't want him to sit out. And I don't think he wants to sit out and get fined every week. I just don't. Eventually when the player sits out in the recent era, I haven't seen it working out for the player. It's always gone bad. Like you can look back on the last few years of players that have done that and said, I'm not playing until like week 6. And then it doesn't work out.
Well, that's what happens, man, because right now he's on the PUP list. And if they don't remove him from the PUP list by 4 p.m. tomorrow, he automatically misses the first 6 games.
Right.
That sucks. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very interested to see what does happen.
But also look at that first 6 games. I mean, you got the Miami, I think the Patriots have a pretty good schedule. You get Miami twice, I think, in the first. No, you get the Jets twice in the first 6.
Yeah, you got Miami, the Jets, the Saints. The Bucs,
Texans. It goes Texans, Cowboys, Jets.
Got it.
And then Chargers.
Yeah, but the problem is, I feel like you said, any guy who goes on the PUP list and misses the first 6 games comes back and has a down season because they weren't practicing, they're not in shape, they get injured.
Right. And that's kind of my point why I don't think he should, like, I don't think Stephon Gilmore should want to sit. I think he should like get as much as he can from Bill and then say, all right, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to work. Like, look at Le'Veon Bell, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other guy. I mean, we could see it Deshaun Watson could have more problems than just sitting out 6 weeks, but he's in tough shape right now. But like the list goes on with those guys, I just don't see it working. So if I'm Gilmore in that position, I'm gonna be like, Bill, what's the best we can do? Let's get a contract extension, or let's get a 1-year extension. Let's do something and kind of compromise on it. And I think that will work. Because I don't think Bill wants to go in with that. I think Bill wants Gilmore on the field, which is why he's handling it the way he is. I feel like Bill Belichick 5 years ago would have traded Stephon Gilmore 3 weeks ago for like a 3rd-round draft pick. Right.
But
at draft night,
I think it's different. Yeah totally. But like, I feel like he's treating it differently, and I think he's treating it differently for a reason because he knows he needs Stephon Gilmore on the field.
I don't know. I think the recipe for success is here, especially with your defense. If you lose Gilmore for the first 6 games, you're missing him for Miami, Jets, Saints, Bucs, Patriots, Cowboys.
It's such like they seem like to have an easy schedule, but man, it makes me a little nervous. Miami's better, and we're playing in New York. Listen, the Jets blow, I get it, but in New York, week 2, it's like the Jets Super Bowl. You know, they got a brand new coach. They have a brand new quarterback. Like, I can see them just staying in the game. And if you give the Jets a little life, that scares me.
Saw that last year, man, when we had to dig that shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it just doesn't make me feel good. And then you have the Saints, and I think they'll suck because Jameis Winston's the quarterback, but it's also the Saints. So I don't really know.
No Michael Thomas. I don't know.
No Michael Thomas. That's big. And then obviously,
I think our running defense is going to be really good. Secondary, you're right. I think secondary is going to be it's going to be interesting to see. But run defense against a guy like Alvin Kamara, I think is huge. Because I think I think Bill's good enough to say, all right, this is how we're going to take him out at least this half of the game.
Who's that D tackle that's like making all these waves? What's that kid's name?
Is it Butler?
No. I think it was the guy we traded for, or the guy we drafted in round 2 from Alabama.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. His name's escaping me right now.
Stand by.
But he is making a little bit. He's making
Christian Barmore.
Yeah, Barmore.
I heard he's making noise in training camp. Like, he's good.
To kind of wrap up this preseason talk, looking at the schedule, we'll go around, fellas. What do we think? What's the prediction for the record? Patriots record at the end of this end of the season.
I want to hear what Jared has to say. He's kind of got a good pulse on what's going on, so I want to hear what he's got.
Well, I appreciate the optimism. I mean, all right. So, like, top of my mind, without looking at the schedule, with how much money they spent in the offseason, they got to get to like at least 11 wins in a 17-game schedule. They got to go 11-6. if they don't reach that, I feel like it's a disappointment. I mean, you spend so much money in the offseason, you draft a quarterback in the first round, and especially coming off a 7-9 season where I'm sorry, the Brady talk's still going to happen. You go 7-9 and Brady wins the Super Bowl, you got to answer to that. And so I think you got to get 11 wins. Looking at the schedule, I'll say Dolphins wins, Jets win, Saints, I'll say lose just because I don't know if they're going to start the season 3-1. I'll say Bucks lose 2-2. They'll beat the Texans 4-2. Cowboys, God, I'll say they lose 4-3. Beat the Jets. So one. Hold on. Stand by. I'm going to count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got them at 10 wins. 10-7. Damn.
I think that's still a good spot though. Like 10-7, 11-6, maybe a 12-5 if they can sneak one of those close games out. But I think this is going to be a better team than last year at the very least.
I think so too.
If we're not contending for at least one of the wild card spots, there's a problem.
I think I said 11-6. That's what I've been saying. Just so you know, the over/under, according to CBS Sports, is set at 9 wins. So I think they do hit the over.
Hammer the over.
I think I would hammer the over there. I don't know.
1,000%.
I don't know if you can find another sport. I don't know. That seems really low.
I can check draft. See if draft.
I'm looking at
real quick.
Vegas.
What does Vegas have them at? Do we know?
VegasInsider.com. I don't know if that's anything. They're at 9.5, so they're probably right around 9.5 wins. I'd hammer the over if anyone is out there. If you get a 9.5 for over under for Patriots wins, I'd hammer it because I think this team is good enough to win. I don't think they're. I think
10 games is a floor easily.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, look, Buffalo, I think wins the division. I think that's not anything. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Those guys are winning. They're winning 12 or 13 games.
Right. But I think you could be right there. I think you could end up splitting with Buffalo. Like you win the home game, you lose the away game. I'm not as sold on the Dolphins, to be honest with you. I know that Brian Flores does a great job with that team. I'm not a Tua believer, to be honest. Like I'm not a big Tua guy. They bring Deshaun Watson in maybe, and he plays the whole season. Maybe that's a different story. But I think you can get 2 wins against the Dolphins, 2 wins against the Jets, and then sprinkle in some of these games like the Panthers, Chargers, Jags, stuff like that. I think you can sprinkle in. I think you can easily find 10 to 11 wins. I think that's.
I agree. The floor should be 10 wins. If it's not, something went wrong.
Yeah, but we'll have to see. We'll get more into it next week because it will actually be the day. Our episode will come out the day before opening day, which will be exciting. A little Tom Brady opening day. It's always good to have him on Thursday Night Football. Switching gears here to the NBA, our Celtics. Man, the team that you love to hate sometimes. They're making all the right moves, I think, this offseason. I think when we last broke for the last season, Brad had just taken over GM. I think that was our one of our last episodes. Brad took over the GM spot. They hired their new coach. Initial thoughts, fellas. I'm positive, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think. What do you think of the moves Brad's made so far?
I've liked the move so far. I think it's been a summer where rather than loading up for this season, I think he's looking towards next summer in the free agency class. We all know Bradley Beal is going to headline that one. So I think he's done a good job of freeing up space, being able to make a run next year at a max player, whether it is Beal or someone else. Extending Smart, great move, heart and soul of the Celtics. Gave Rob his money. Everyone knows I love Rob. We're going to have to see how that goes. It's dependent on health, and a lot of that contract is dependent on games played. So we're going to have to see how Rob goes. But overall, I like the moves that have been made. Is it going to put us on par with the Nets? No, but, you got to start somewhere.
Oh, the Celtics, the good old Boston freaking Celtics, man. Like you said, a team that sometimes you just love to hate. I love Ime Udoka. I say
Ime Udoka. Yeah.
Ime Udoka. Love that he became the head coach. Brad moving to the front office. I guess we'll see how that plays out. I like the moves. Yeah, man, I like Rob Williams. I like him. Can he stay on the court? Like, what type of player is he? We'll find out. Marcus Smart. I understand, Zach, what you're saying about he's the heart and soul of the team. I'm not sure if he's a fit. That's the question. If he is like your typical role player that doesn't try to throw up, 15 threes a game because he thinks he's Jason Tatum, sure, I'll take him. If he's engaged and playing great defense, yeah, of course, I'd love to have Marcus Smart. Are we going to get that Marcus Smart? I hope so, because I don't think we got him last year.
I think without Kemba Walker, we have to. And I think that's why the deal was made is if you look at the team right now without Bradley Beal, obviously, because that's going to be a next summer hopeful addition. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him, but it's hopeful.
Fingers crossed, my friend.
But looking at the roster as it's compiled right now, it's kind of the deal you had to make. You can't let a guy like that, kind of run out his contract, because then you're kind of just stuck with Tatum and Brown, and they're just running a two-man show. So with what they have right now, it's kind of the deal that had to be made, but it could change if they are able to bring in a Beal or someone else like that.
If they're making these moves to try to make a legitimate run at Bradley Beal, I'm all for it. If Bradley Beal is seriously considering coming to Boston because he loves Jason Tatum,
I don't know if Tatum could have done a better recruitment job this summer. He was all over that guy.
Good. Keep it up. It worries me though, because I know Bradley Beal said something over the summer about how he didn't mind staying in Washington too. He loves the area. He loves the city. That makes me nervous. Listen, I like the moves that they did. It's just like kind of like you shrug your shoulders and you're like, yeah, they're good moves. Are they a top 4 team in the East?
No.
Maybe fringe, maybe mid. I mean, they're not as good as the Nets. They're not as good as the Bucks.
No.
They're a playoff team, but
like I said, these moves weren't going to set the world on fire. It's not KG, Ray Allen trade type levels, but it was. They got moving in the right direction. It was better than last year where they literally just stood pat, every single player, same player, let's run it back, and it didn't work.
My concern is that we don't get Bradley Beal.
Well, I mean, that's a bridge we're going to have to cross in 365 days.
Because that's what scares me. Because say Bradley Beal doesn't come here, I think Jason
we ran into that with Durant, and we saw how that went.
I know. That's what scares me. It's like at some point, Jason Tatum is going to be done waiting around. I know we signed him for a 5-year deal, but like, how the NBA works. All Jason Tatum has to do is be like, yeah, I'm not playing here. Trade me. And like it happens because we know that NBA players run the NBA. So that's what scares me. Because at some point, like he's going to want to, be on a super team. And I just hope that's here. And I hope Bradley Beal wants to come here. So it's Tatum, Beal, Brown, then you have Smart, Rob Williams, Horford if you want to throw in there. But it all depends. You got to get that third superstar. You got to get him.
Yeah. That's why next summer is going to be big make or break for Brad. If he can either make a big trade or a big acquisition, it's going to be huge for him.
I think what Brad's shown as GM, which is a good thing, I think it is a good thing, is that he is building around Jason Tatum. He is asking Jason Tatum, who do you like? Like head coach was definitely a Jason Tatum, and I'd say Jaylen Brown sign off. Like that's who they wanted. He could have had a chance. Like I was a big Sam Cassell guy. I think he was like the top, like even Becky Hammond. Ime wasn't even on my list, but I think it fits the mold for what they're trying to do and what they want to do in Boston.
I agree. That's why I love it, because I do think Jason Tatum was like, I want that guy.
Same thing with Al. Al is Jason Tatum's like, I would love to have Al back. I loved playing with Al. You saw it as soon as he came, all the love that once the trade was made, they were like, oh, I'm so excited to play with Al again. I love this. I love that. And I think that all this is leading up to, he's making moves to bring in Bradley Beal, which is what we said. And I think he's going to do it. Could it not happen? Sure. We saw it with KD, but I think the one difference that it is with KD, I don't think there was a connection with KD in Boston beside the, what we were trying to build and, the spectacle of how good we did to like make this team good, like with what we had. Like when he was seeing here, he's like, oh, I get to play with Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder. Like that was the pieces he was seeing. Bradley Beal coming here, he says he sees a potential, I think, first All NBA team player in Jason Tatum. He
Yeah,
sees
potential
Jalen
superstar.
Brown, All-Star Jalen Brown as the third option on that team.
Yeah.
And you add guys in like Marcus Smart, veterans like Al Horford, Ime Udoka, which is big. Players want to play for the right coach.
100%.
I think they definitely have a better shot of signing Bradley Beal than they did with signing KD back in whenever it was. The only team that I think has equal chance with us, and this could change, it's 365 days till we see that we're talking about this again, is Washington. Because he is a loyal guy. I got to give him, he is a loyal guy. But if he is willing to leave, I think the Celtics are where he's leaving to. It makes sense for him. It gives him the best shot to win. And he plays with his best friend.
I will say this,
years.
and this was Danny Ainge, but the Celtics themselves, we were able to scramble after Kyrie left to get Kemba. So we have been able to kind of pick and plant guys we need to plug in. So if we see a need and we're able to say, hey, Bradley Beal, I mean, max contract, you get to play with your best friend, Jason Tatum, your childhood friend, Jason Tatum. Let's get this done. I'm hopeful there's a way we can find that to happen.
And also what we were
Your
talking about.
mouth to God's ears, my friend.
I'm crossing my fingers and praying up to the man upstairs that hopefully we get Bradley Beal. The one good thing about the extension, I will say about Marcus Smart and Rob Williams, let's say doomsday protocol comes into play and we don't get Bradley Beal next year. You always have those lengthy, because it's a couple year contracts, which people like to trade those guys away to get get another star in here.
I agree.
Think that gives them the trade assets to go move. And I think Brad is more willing to trade first round picks than Danny was. So he can package stuff together to go get a Bradley Beal type player. And then you're kind of like, we didn't get Bradley Beal, but we got this as a difference. And it's equal to, if not better than what we could have got.
I agree. Brad needs a plan B, because I think plan A, obvious, sign Bradley Beal, get him to Boston. But Brad needs a plan B, because like we just talked about, if they don't bring in a superstar over the next 2 years to help out Jason Tatum, I could totally see Tatum being like, I'm going to LA, boys. Love you, mean it, but I'm going to play with LeBron, or I'm going down to Miami. It's just it's a matter of time before he joins the super team. It's just a matter of time. So we got to keep him as happy as possible. I think we're doing a good job at that. But if we don't land a superstar, it doesn't have to be this season, but next season,
right?
That scares me.
And I think that's the conversations Brad, and he loves Brad too. That's the other reason I think it was another. I think Danny, or I guess I should say Wick's move is to make Jason Tatum happy. Jason Tatum, I think, loves Brad, and making Brad the president of basketball operations, I think, keeps Jason happy, because now he knows he has a direct line to the man who's making decisions. And I think that's what I've gotten from this whole offseason. I think there was a friction between him and Kemba. I don't think he liked playing with Kemba. He loves Smart, so they extend Smart. He loves Rob, they extend Rob. They bring back Al. They are gonna. I think they like. I like the Chris Dunn signing. I like Dennis Schroeder, which was a sneaky good pick for the money that we got. And Josh Richardson, another guy that is an asset next year, because we extended him another year, that you can use him next year. Worst comes to worst, you make a package with Josh Richardson in the trade. So like we said, I think this is just a setup point right now for the end goal of getting a superstar in here like Bradley Beal. But do we know who's trying to find who's the other max free agents?
Oh, let's look it up. Max free agents
in 2022. Free agent class.
Stand by.
There's a lot here. I mean, there's player options in there, but they all decline them.
It looks like John Wall, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, obviously Bradley Beal, Kyrie. Kyrie's coming back to Boston next year, baby.
I think he'd rather retire.
Oh, dude, he'd rather go to hell. Gary Harris, Aaron Gordon, Zach Levine, Dragic. I mean, the big ones are obviously. Yeah. I mean, John Wall.
I'm not really. It's pretty much Harden, Westbrook, Beal,
and Harden
Kyrie. I'm not a Harden guy.
I'm not a Harden. It's It looks
It's
like
Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal.
That's it. I like Westbrook, but I don't really want him on the team. And I think,
yeah, it's Bradley Beal.
yeah. So, I mean, unless you go and find someone on the trade market, which is I guess that's what I was saying. Like you have that plan B of going out and trading someone. I think that's all you got. And you just got to cross your fingers and hope that works. And it may not work out, but I think that's the best course of action. I think Brad's doing a good job at that, executing that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this team can be, I don't know, like a contender, but do you think it's a sneaky playoff team?
I think it's definitely a playoff team considering how much of a crapshoot the Eastern Conference is. So I think we could at least get in.
But
they better be a playoff team.
I don't think
top 8 team in the East.
When I say playoff team, I mean a team that can make a little run in the playoffs. I'm not saying maybe like make it to the Eastern Conference or I think it is. I think it's a team that can. I don't see them winning the NBA title, but you have
I'd say second round
guys on this team. Like Jason Tatum's going to be way better. You're going to have a well-rested and healthy Jaylen Brown. Al's the one thing I said about this team last year was too young. They had all these young bench guys that stunk. Now they added some not older, but more veteran guys. Like Josh Richardson's a good pickup. Dennis Schroeder I already talked about. Al, Chris Dunn. I think those are good guys on the bench. They can get. I mean, someone's going to be cut here. Enes Kanter too for cheap money. I think that was a good signing. And then obviously you got Aaron Naismith, who really impressed me last year, and Peyton Pritchard. So, I mean, if you're rolling in with that group into the playoffs and everyone stays healthy, I can see this team pushing on the door. And you're going to say, oh, I think we were a superstar away from winning the title.
All right, let me ask you this then. Who's better, Celtics or Philly?
I mean, they could end up blowing it up in the next month. Right now, I'd say Philly's better.
I take Philly right now too. All right, who's better, Brooklyn or Boston?
Brooklyn.
I mean, that's easy. Brooklyn.
We figured that out last season.
Who's better, the Bucks or Boston?
Bucks.
Who's better, the Knicks or Boston?
Boston.
I'd say Boston.
Over the Knicks.
I'd take Boston.
The Hawks.
Close. Boston. It's close. I'd take Boston.
I take the Hawks.
They crapped their pants last year, dude.
They did crap their pants.
They're like I think
they got hot. They were just a hot team. I wonder what would happen if they kind of didn't get that new coach kind of shot in the arm.
Yeah,
I think it's close. Miami,
Boston.
I think Miami's edges Boston a little bit. I think it's close. It depends on who shows up. They did the Kyle Lowry trade was huge. Signing
Washington,
Boston, easy.
All right, and then Pacers.
Yeah, Boston.
Okay, so right now we got them anywhere between 4 and 6. That's where they should be.
Right, 4 and 6.
So I agree. I think they should be a team that, as long as they are not playing either the Nets or the Bucks, they should have a chance in the first round. They should have a chance.
And I'm not scared of Philly, to be honest with you. Like I know they're better. I think we would be able to beat them.
I think Philly played out of their mind last year, and I think they're definitely taking a step back this year.
Absolutely. I think the goal should be to get that 4 seed and get the home game, which is what I said. Get that first home series, and then anything can happen after that. I do, and maybe you get a upset in the other side of your next round opponent, then you get another home game. I think the 3-4 seed is where they should aim. I think 4 is more realistic, but who knows? I think if everyone stays healthy is a big thing, which has been the Celtics' downfall the last 6 years.
I think the Celtics could be actually sneaky good.
That's what I'm saying. I think they could be a sneaky playoff team. I think they could make a run at it.
I think that they, especially looking at the landscape of the East and looking how they played last year, I think Philly's taking a step back. And Brooklyn, listen, the Nets are super talented. But are you going to tell me Harden, Durant, and Kyrie will all be healthy for the playoffs? I don't know.
If I had to bet, one of those 3 won't be there in the playoffs.
I agree. Then you have the Bucks. Obviously, they're the Bucks, but they had a great year last year, win the championship. Do they take a step back this year, or do they continue that dominance? I don't know. So I think. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I could see them, going in the second round, taking a team like, if they get a good, I don't know. I think they're going to be there. That's my point.
If everyone stays healthy, I think this team will be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think they could be.
I think if everyone stays healthy, I mean, it's a big if, especially
if everyone stays healthy and they play Celtics basketball, because they were healthy last year for a couple of stretches and they still played like dog shit.
But the Jalen Brown injury was huge going in the end of the season.
I mean, that changed everything.
And I think whether we want to admit it or not, they were tuning Brad out. It was over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think everybody checked out.
I think Brad knew it was over too.
Yeah,
exactly. And so I think kind of everybody checked out. Season was over. Everybody was excited to move on, get into the off season. So I'm hoping that there's a renewed energy, new coach. They signed Smart. They signed Rob Williams. Tatum has another year of experience. Jaylen Brown hopefully stays healthy. They bring Horford back for the leadership role. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
And they got bench leadership, which is huge. Like veteran guys off the bench, which is huge. You're not bringing in Grant Williams as your seventh guy off the bench, which if I have to see a Grant Williams, we already got rid of, as much as I love him, Semi. We already got rid of we don't have to see Semi's corner three. I don't want to see Grant Williams corner three.
Semi's corner three.
I can't take it. But I think that could be a sneaky team this year.
Hey, speaking of corner three, I met Walter McCarty.
Oh, really?
Ago. Yeah, dude, it was awesome.
Big Walt.
I saw him at the Jordan Jersey golf tournament, and I was like, holy shit, that's Walter McCarty. I love Walter.
Walt was a coach, right? Didn't he coach?
I think he still is, isn't he?
Is he still there? He was awesome, dude. I met him a couple times before Celtics games. He's a nice guy.
Dude, you're almost as tall as him.
I think he's got me a little bit, but I'm right there with him.
Just the fact that you're saying you're right there with him, you should see the picture of me and him.
He's
I look
6'9".
like a child.
How tall are you, Steve?
6'8".
There you go.
6'7", 6'8".
Dude, I look like my 5-year-old niece next to him.
I love I got a picture of me and Scal next to each other. I'm right with Scal. It makes me feel good.
Dude, that's my prized possession is me and the picture of me and Scal together.
That's awesome.
So let's we're gonna change gears here again. Looking at the Red Sox, who talk about a roller coaster of emotions this year. When we last left, we were talking about how this team was playing unbelievable baseball. We were really high going into the trade deadline, thinking we were going to get those couple pieces we needed, and we did not do any of that. We got
Kyle
Schwarber, I guess,
who's been doing all he can, to be honest.
He's doing good. I mean, they're trying to transition him, I think, to the first base role, which is what we needed. But I'll be honest with you, I'm very upset because this team, this season
has been fun, and now they suck the fun right out of me.
It really has, because and I blame Chime, and in Chime we trust, but to a point, man. Like, he had a chance. This season was so positive. The outlook was like, before going into the season, this team was going to be terrible. We said it was a playoff team, but we thought it was a wild card team. But then you started winning all these games.
They had the best record in the AL.
You were the best record in the AL. I think you were the second best record in baseball at some point, battling for that first spot. And now you go into the trade deadline thinking, oh, we're going to have a chance at Rizzo, Scherzer, even some of these secondary guys like Kimbrel. And I mean, the list goes on. And we didn't do anything. We didn't add anyone to the bullpen. We added Schwarber and who is the guy that used to play for the Sox? We claimed
Travis Shaw.
We luckily, just added, because he got dropped, we added Travis Shaw. And now you've taken a team, and now it's just we're going right down. We're kind of coming back down to earth a little bit.
Kinda. We suck.
We are a borderline wild card team, which is what we're showing.
I mean, dude, we're 8 games back of the Rays now. 8 games. We're 2 games back of the Yankees for the wild card. Right now, we're
Do we have the second wild card spot? Who's the first?
We have the
wild
second wild card spot right now. We're 2.5 games up on the Athletics. It looks like either 2.5 or 3 games up on the Athletics.
They're gonna come back down to earth too. They're gonna start losing, so I'm not really worried about them.
Yeah, but I'm worried about us. Just to get back into are you kidding me? So even if we have that play-in wild card game, you're telling me we got to play in Yankee Stadium? I have no faith.
I have faith. I think they would crap their pants too. The Yankees I don't believe in.
I don't know. They just
let me put it this way. Who would you take in this one game playoff? Sale versus
Garrett Cole?
Garrett Cole.
I'd take Sale, but
I don't know. At Yankee Stadium?
I'd take Chris Sale any day of the week.
Well, this is kind of gonna build off my take of where this Sox team has gone. Is I get standing pat at the deadline because going into the season, Bloom's, let's call it a 5-year plan. I couldn't tell you if he actually has a 5-year plan, but I'll call it a 5-year plan. They hire Bloom. Obviously, he has to make the Mookie deal. He's the scapegoat for that. And 2020 obviously sucks. Like, the team is absolute garbage. We're bringing in like Matt Hall to throw meaningful innings. It shouldn't have fucking happened, but it did. We come into this season, there's no chance Chaim Bloom thought that this team was going to even remotely contend. I know we called them a wild card team, but I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's like, this team's going to suck again. And we're going to have to punt on this season too and see what we can do next year. So I think it's definitely deflating to see where this team is now, because they were the best team in the AL for a very long stretch heading into the All-Star break even. So it does suck to get halfway and then fall apart. But I think part of Bloom's reasoning for not going all in on certain guys, which I would have loved to have seen Kimbrel, because his bullpen is the absolute dog shit. But I think he was more looking forward to next season or the season after that or the season after that. And he didn't want to mortgage some of the minor leaguers we have and kind of, I'm not saying he punted on the season, but at the same time, we were the best team in the AL without Kyle Schwarber. There's no reason this team should be this bad. We should still be able to be winning these games. It's not completely on Chaim that this team has just decided to suck after we got back from Coors Field.
I agree. If we were so mentally weak, where because they didn't make a trade at the deadline,
right.
The team falls apart, we're not going anywhere anyway.
Right.
But so I think it's a combination. I think it's the players' fault. I think it's Chaim Bloom's fault, because I do put some blame on Chaim. Because what is the goal of any general manager, any coach, any player? It's to win.
I agree. You don't, and I'm in agreement with that. If you're looking at this team and you're like, holy shit, we're the best team in the AL, you do want to cash in on that.
You got a chance.
You don't want to say, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that. So I do like the Schwarber move. I would have been a lot happier if he made a Kimbrel move, because this bullpen needs the help.
Right.
Yeah, like get a Kimbrel. Even like I know, Bobby Dahlbeck had 7 RBIs the other day or whatever he did, but like even if you got a guy like Rizzo, first baseman, just the leadership role, like what this kind of like the message that sends to the team of being like, hey, we're going for it. It just sucks that like everything just fell apart after that point. And I blame everybody. And like here's the issue is that like we kind of learned from Danny Ainge that sometimes when you keep holding on to assets because you're not getting the return that you think you deserve on them, sometimes the assets don't pan out. You know what I mean? And
right.
So like, as great as Danny Ainge, as much as I love Danny Ainge, because I thought he was a very good general manager, he won 1 championship in like 18 years.
Yeah.
That's not great. I mean, fine. Like you won a championship. Great. But it's not, you didn't build this huge dynasty. So my point is when you have the opportunity to win, I feel like you got to take advantage of it, because you don't know how many, it's hard to win,
Right.
So
I think something that may have factored in is we might not have the pieces that some teams may have been able to get from other teams. I know Jaron Duran's a good piece. I know we have like Connor Siebold, but we don't have like upper echelon guys. I know they just ranked our farm system 9, but it's a lot of like the lower tier guys, like Myers is down there. Tristan Cassis is in AA. I know Jeter Downs is up in AAA, but he's been kind of struggling. So I think a little wrinkle to why the trade deadline didn't go the way we wanted is some of our prospects just aren't where they need to be right now.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you could have gotten some. Like, I'm not saying that we needed Rizzo, but that Indians first baseman that the Cleveland Defenders. I think that's what they just changed.
Guardians.
Guardians. Who is that first baseman that they just re-signed? There was some kid that was up at the deadline. I forget his name. But he was an easy, like, that would have been a very capable person to get. It would have been like 2 minor league players that never would have seen the field in the next 5 years. That I'm fine with getting a guy that's an upgrade there. Going out and getting a.
Are you talking about Bobby Bradley?
No, I forget who.
All right, then
no.
I can't help you there. Then
I forget. He's a veteran guy. I'll have to look it up. But there's guys like that are like, they're not the Rizzos and the Scherzers of the world, but it's something to come in and give you depth, and that's the kind of championship moves that are made to help you become get you through the end of the stretch of the season, because it's a long season. And I'm sorry, like, I know Bobby Dahlbeck is tearing it up, and I love Bobby, but if he's starting at first base, maybe Schwarber starts at first base now, but if he's your starting first baseman down the stretch, that's a little bit of a concern. And if you're just relying on Chris Sale to bail you out throughout the rest of the season, you're in trouble. And that's just how it is.
There was a Boston Red Sox 2021 midseason top 50 prospects, and this was back in July 26th. Take a guess who was ranked number 1.
Tristan Cassis.
Yeah, it was
Jaren Duran.
All right.
Duran was actually ranked number 1. Wow.
So my point being, if Duran is ranked number 1, I feel like we could have gotten rid of some prospects, and I would have been fine with it. Like, I like Duran. I like him. What is he going to turn into? Have no idea. Number 2 is Marcelo Mayer. Have you heard of this kid, the shortstop?
He's their first pick of the draft this year.
He's 18 years old. It's like,
he's a stud though. Like, they could have got a lot for him. They just drafted him like 2 months ago. So that's why I'm like, if they're going to trade him away, and he was supposed to go first in the draft overall, but he fell to us at 4.
I just feel like sometimes the hype around guys is better than the actual player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, honestly.
That's what I mean. So, like, a guy like Marcelo Mayer, who's like ranked number 2 and he's 18 years old. Dude, he's 18. Like, what? First of all, how long is it going to take before he gets into the majors? Another 3 years, maybe 2. I mean, is he really going to be there when he's 20? Maybe. And then, so he's not going to help your ball club until another 3, maybe 4 years. And then who the hell knows what he's going to be by then?
Yeah.
So, like, a guy like him who's like ranked number 2, ship his ass out for someone that can help you now.
Yeah.
And if he's the next Mookie Betts, then shit, you made a huge mistake. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. I think there's definitely some guys they could have, like we talked about, Jeter Downs. Guys like
Jeter Downs, dude, his stock is plummeting, man.
Oh,
they should have cashed in on his. And like, there's a lot of other guys that are like Jeter Downs that they could have cashed in on. And I understand, like, you want to keep as many prospects, build up your farm system. That's what Bloom's thing is. But there's only so many prospects you can save at the end of the year. So somebody like 18, probably like 15 to 20 of your top, like from 15 spot to 20 spot of your top 20 prospects, so 5 prospects, are probably, you could have a chance to.
I mean, we saw the Yankees trade literally, I think it was half of their top 15.
Yeah. And now look at them. They passed us. I just think that it's like, I don't know. That's the frustrating part of this whole thing.
So I'll ask you this. Would you have rather given up 10 of the top 20 to get Rizzo or another piece, or would you have rather kept them?
I'm always the guy who gets rid of them. If you can trade for a known commodity, get them. I've always been that type of person, because too many times I've seen between all 4 sports, these prospects that are coming up and they're going to be the next big thing. Yeah. And then very similar to someone like Jeter Downs. Like, I remember hearing about Jeter Downs
5 years ago.
So many times, man. And like, when we got in for the Mookie, it's like, oh, Jeter Downs. Like, he's going to be the next shortstop, second baseman for the next 10 years. He might not ever see Fenway Park.
He doesn't even play second down in Worcester, man. He's still shortstop down in Worcester.
And so it's like, get the known commodity.
I'm with you. So we'll have to see going down the stretch. I mean, they got a little bit ways to go. and hopefully they can turn this around going into the playoff time. They need to have that wild card spot because it's going to be absolutely ridiculous if they miss the playoffs.
Oh my God, I'll puke all over myself if they miss the playoffs.
You may want to keep some clean clothes on then.
I was about to say on the podcast, I will
projectile vomit
puke.
onto himself. Jesus
all
Christ.
over my Julian Edelman helmet.
Don't do that.
Maybe something less valuable.
Jules didn't deserve it. So let's segue. We're gonna go into our last topic of the night. It's the people's topic.
It's the people's topic, baby! People's topic.
People's topic. You can write into our Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone. Leave us a question, comment, whatever you want us to talk about. Today we got two. We're going with two topics of the day. First comes from Dave Griffin, and he said the fantasy draft. We just had our fantasy football draft, the three of us. I think we had a very good draft. So I think it was good. The video should be coming out in the next couple weeks. And I don't know if you want to give.
That's high A Brooklyn Cyclone starting pitcher, David Griffin, to everyone who's listening.
Showing up Thor down in site.
Setting
Brooklyn.
the table for Thor. Yeah.
I think it was a good draft. We all had a good time. So it's always a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be a good balance league.
And our last question comes from Joseph_Celia. He's coming in with a banger. What do you wish Brad Stevens could have done differently this offseason?
I mean, there's not really much else he could have done.
Get Bradley Beal a year early. That's all he could have done.
Yeah,
I guess if he wanted to trade like Grant Williams and some draft picks for Bradley Beal.
Oh, I would have loved him to trade Grant Williams and Carson Edwards away. That's the one thing I hope he still pulls the trigger on that. Get rid of Grant Williams. I can't stand him. He's just going to be wasting space. I hope they get rid of Grant Williams. That's the last thing
Grant Williams is slowly becoming Steve's Jarrett Stidham.
It really is. He had such a great first year, but he just stinks. I really hope they get rid of him.
He does stink.
He's awful. Well, I think that's all the time we got for this episode of the Big Red Zone. My thanks to Danny Football and Jared. Always a pleasure, fellas. We have a great, and we're excited for season 4 of the Big Red Zone. So we'll see you. We'll see you next time. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for having me, fellas.